Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and share this message. Someone out there needs to hear it too. Now listen carefully. When Allah takes something from you, He's not being cruel. He's being kind in a way you may not yet understand. Ibn Arabi said, when Allah removes a thing, He replaces it with Himself. And what could be greater than that? Every loss you cry over, every door that closes, every person who walks away. It's not the end of your story. It's the beginning of a better one written by the most merciful. The human heart holds tightly to what feels familiar, even when it hurts. But Allah knows what you cannot see, that sometimes what you think you need would only keep you from what He destined for you. So when something leaves your life, don't chase it, don't curse the moment, don't call it unfair. Sit with your sadness, whisper inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, and remember, nothing leaves without His permission, and nothing that's meant for you can ever be lost. What looks like emptiness is really space being cleared for mercy. What feels like silence is really the sound of His rearranging. Every heartbreak, every delay, every unanswered prayer, all of it is a message saying, I'm making room for something better. Because Allah never takes to hurt, He takes to heal. And if you trust Him through the loss, you'll one day look back and realize that what He took wasn't meant to stay. And what He gave instead was what your soul was always praying for. And when Allah takes something from you, it's not absence, it's exchange. It's His way of clearing the path for something higher, something you didn't even know you needed. Ibn Arabi said, nothing leaves the heart of the believer except what was never meant to stay. So don't hold on to what He's already released. The pain of losing is not a punishment, it's a preparation. You may cry, you may question, but deep down you'll feel a quiet whisper reminding you, trust me, because what He replaces is always greater. The job you lost, the friend who left, the love that ended, these are not endings, they're transitions. He removes people to replace them with peace. He closes doors to open ones that lead to purpose. He takes what's temporary to give you what's eternal. You'll notice it slowly. The weight begins to lift, the silence begins to heal, and one day, you'll thank Him for not giving you what you thought you wanted. Because the truth is, if Allah removes something from your life, He's not taking away, He's making room. Room for blessings, for growth, for closeness to Him. So when it hurts, remember, the emptiness you feel now will soon be filled with something far better. You just need to stay patient long enough to see what He was saving for you all along. And when you stay patient long enough, you'll see what every believer eventually sees, that nothing Allah removes ever leaves a void. It only makes space for what's meant to come. Ibn Arabi said, when Allah takes away your comfort, He is teaching your heart to rest in Him. You may not notice it at first. The nights may feel longer, the silence heavier, the pain sharper. But somewhere deep inside, your soul begins to change. You stop clinging to what left and start leaning on what remains, Him. And that's when you realize He didn't take to break you. He took to bring you back. Sometimes the loss is not punishment, it's protection. The thing you cried for was never meant to carry you. He was. And when you finally let go, when you truly surrender, life begins to rearrange itself. What was once chaos becomes calm. What was once confusion becomes clarity. You'll find peace where you least expect it, in the same place where you thought you'd never heal. Because that's the way Allah works. He empties your hands so He can fill your heart. He removes what blocks your path so you can finally walk toward Him freely. And when He replaces what was taken, it won't just be better, it will be perfect in a way only He can design. And as time passes, you'll begin to see the wisdom behind what was taken. The same pain that once made you question will now make you grateful. You'll remember how you begged for something to stay. And later you'll whisper Alhamdulillah that it left. Ibn Arabi said, if you could see what Allah sees for you, your heart would never resist His will. That's the secret of loss. It's never loss in His hands. What He removes, He replaces with peace. What He closes, He replaces with protection. What He delays, He replaces with perfection. You'll notice how the void you felt starts to glow softly, not with what you had, but with what He placed instead, patience, wisdom, and trust. That's the unseen beauty of surrender. You realize that the gift isn't what He gives or takes, but the strength He builds in you through both. When Allah takes something from you, He's not asking you to live without it. He's teaching you that you were never living through it. but through him. And when you truly understand that, you'll stop fearing loss altogether. Because how can you lose when the one who owns everything is the one guiding your every step? The same Lord who took from you will one day surprise you with something so right, so gentle, so perfect. You'll understand why every no was mercy in disguise. And when that understanding finally takes root in your heart, peace begins to flow through you like light through glass. You no longer chase what left, you no longer grieve what's gone, you simply trust. You realize that Allah doesn't take to punish, He takes to purify. He removes what distracts you from Him, even if your heart clings to it. Ibn Arabi said, "What you think is loss is the birth of what your soul has been asking for." And he was right. Every heartbreak becomes a doorway. Every closed chapter becomes an answered prayer in disguise. The tears you cried were not wasted. They watered the ground for something greater to grow. You start to see it now. Allah took what wasn't meant to stay, so He could make space for what truly belongs to you. And when His replacements arrive, they don't just fill the gap, they heal it. You'll meet people who bring peace instead of pain. You'll find paths that lift you instead of draining you. And you'll realize that His plan was never to leave you empty. He was clearing your hands so you could finally hold His gifts. That's the beauty of divine love. It gives through taking. It heals through breaking. And when Allah restores, He doesn't just return what was lost. He gives back in ways that make you forget it was ever gone. And one day, you'll look back and see how every loss was a turning point, not an ending. The people who left, the plans that failed, the dreams that collapsed, they were all messengers guiding you to something purer, something written only for you. You'll understand that what Allah removed was never meant to harm you, but to bring you back to what truly matters, your connection with Him. Ibn Arabi said, "The one who knows Allah sees mercy in every deprivation." That's what trust really means, seeing mercy where others see loss. You'll begin to notice that every time He took, He left behind something unseen, a lesson, a strength, a deeper calm. What He removed from your hands, He placed tenfold into your heart. And slowly, your du'as start to change. You stop asking for what you want and start asking for what's right. You stop chasing outcomes and start chasing closeness. That's when everything around you begins to fall into place. Not because life gets easier, but because your soul finally understands the pattern. Every subtraction was a sign of divine generosity. Every delay was proof of divine precision. And every heartbreak was Allah turning your gaze back to Him, whispering gently through the ache, "I took nothing from you. I only made room for myself." And with time, you'll realize that every loss you once mourned was a doorway Allah opened towards something purer, lighter, and far more meaningful. The things you thought you couldn't live without will fade, but the peace that replaces them will stay forever. Ibn Arabi said, "When the heart empties of creation, it becomes filled with the Creator." That is the truth of divine exchange. Allah never leaves you with less. When He takes, He gives Himself. When He removes, He replaces with something eternal. You begin to see it in everything. The friends who left made room for solitude with Him. The dreams that failed made space for purpose. The silence after heartbreak became a garden for prayer. You stop begging for what's gone and start whispering, "Whatever you will for me, Ya Allah, is better than what I will for myself." That's when your soul finally rests. You understand that His mercy is not always in giving. Sometimes it's in taking. Because the one who created your heart knows exactly what to remove so it can finally beat freely for Him. And when you reach that point, when you can smile after loss and still say Alhamdulillah, you've found the secret. What Allah takes is never gone. It simply returns in a better form, wrapped in His love. And eventually, when the story of your life unfolds, you'll see how every chapter of loss was written by the same hand that gave you peace. You'll realize that Allah never took something to leave you empty. He took so He could fill you with Himself. Ibn Arabi said, "When the lover is deprived, he finds the beloved in the deprivation." That's what divine love feels like. It takes away what distracts you so you can finally see what truly remains. You begin to notice how your heart has changed, softer, wiser, freer. You no longer fear losing anything, because you've discovered the secret. What is meant for you will never miss you, and what misses you is never meant. Every time you said Alhamdulillah through pain, the unseen world shifted in your favor. Every tear was not a sign of weakness, but of cleansing. Every loss was a door, and behind each door was more mercy. And one day, when you look back, you'll smile through quiet tears and whisper, "Now I understand. What he took was never mine to keep, but what he gave me after, no one can ever take." Because that's the way Allah works. He breaks you only to rebuild you stronger, empties you only to fill you deeper, and takes from you only to give you something far greater, Himself. And when that truth finally lives inside you, the fear of loss disappears completely. You stop begging life to stay the same, because you've seen how every change carries Allah's mercy inside it. What once terrified you now comforts you. What once felt like the end now feels like guidance. Ibn Arabi said, "When Allah removes the world from your hands, He is placing eternity in your heart." And that's what you start to feel, eternity. A stillness that doesn't depend on people, a peace that doesn't depend on circumstance. You learn that love for Allah isn't proven in comfort. It's proven in surrender. When you trust Him through the taking, through the silence, through the ache, that's when your faith becomes unshakable. You look around and realize that nothing you lost ever truly belonged to you. It all belonged to Him. And somehow, that realization doesn't hurt, it heals. Because now you see what He was doing all along, freeing you from everything temporary, so He could fill you with what never ends. You raise your hands, and instead of asking for what's gone, you whisper, "Ya Allah, give me what brings me closer to you." And in that moment, you understand. That's what He's been doing all along. Every loss was love, every silence was care, and every ending was just His way of saying, "I'm still here." And as you keep walking this path of surrender, life begins to glow in a way it never did before. You start to see how every trial, every subtraction, every unanswered prayer has turned you into someone softer, wiser, more awake. Ibn Arabi said, "The beloved tests the heart only to show it to itself." And now you see what he meant, that every time Allah took something from you, He was not emptying your life. He was polishing your soul. The things you lost were never punishments. They were mirrors showing what still stood between you and Him. And now, free of them, your heart has space to breathe. You no longer ask, "Why me?" because you've learned that the question was never why. It was who. Who carried you through the loss? Who replaced pain with peace? Who turned heartbreak into healing? You finally understand that what Allah replaces is not always something you can hold. Sometimes it's something you can feel. Strength, calm, clarity, closeness. And that's the greatest exchange of all. Because once your heart has tasted that kind of peace, you'll never crave what was taken again. You'll whisper Alhamdulillah for what was lost, Alhamdulillah for what was given, and Alhamdulillah for the one who knew exactly what you needed, even when you didn't. And with that peace, you'll finally begin to live, not holding on to things, but holding on to the one who gives them meaning. You stop fearing loss, because you know that nothing in this world can leave except by Allah's will, and nothing beautiful ever arrives without His timing. Ibn Arabi said, "The one who has seen the truth no longer weeps over what is gone, for he sees the giver in everything." That's where your heart will rest, in that vision. You'll start to walk lighter, because your faith carries what your hands can't. You'll speak softer, because your tongue knows gratitude better than complaint. You'll look at your past not with regret, but with recognition. Every wound, every goodbye, every unanswered prayer was part of the gentle path that brought you here. You'll see that what Allah took was never meant to harm you. It was the mercy that cleared the way for light. And when that light fills your chest, you'll whisper what every soul eventually learns. Nothing I lost was ever mine, and everything I have is from you. That's the final piece, to know that whatever He takes, whatever He gives, whatever He wills, is always love. And when that love finally becomes your lens, the entire world changes shape. You start to see Allah's mercy in everything, in what stays, in what leaves, in what never arrives. The heart that once resisted now bows with quiet acceptance. You stop asking for the storm to end, and instead, you start asking for strength to walk through it with grace. Ibn Arabi said, "When the veil of pain is lifted, the face of mercy is revealed." And truly, that's what every hardship hides, mercy. You'll find yourself smiling in moments that once broke you, because you finally understand what He was doing all along. He wasn't closing your hands to leave them empty. He was teaching them how to receive properly. Every loss was a lesson in letting go, every delay a lesson in patience, every silence a lesson in trust. You no longer chase, you no longer cling. You simply flow with what he writes. The world may still shift around you, but your heart stands still, firm, grounded, calm. Because now you know, nothing belongs to you but your faith, and nothing can be taken from you that he won't replace with himself. And when you reach that state, you'll see that the greatest gift was never the things you had, but the nearness you gained when you lost them. You'll close your eyes, breathe, and whisper with peace, Ya Allah, if taking brings me closer to you, then take, and if giving brings me closer to you, then give. For I am content with both.